Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday, February 28th, 2023. Welcome to Civil Justice Subcommittee. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Beck, Bolso, Capley, Eldridge, Farmer, Grills, Lambert,
Bolso.
Parkinson, Todd, Chairman Russell.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Members, do we have any personal orders? Personal orders. Seeing none, we always start out with recognizing two members to introduce themselves and tell a little bit about them. And this week, Representative Grills, would you like to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to do this. My name is Rusty Grills. I live in the northwest corner of West Tennessee. My counties are Dyer Lake and Obion County. I am a lifelong farmer. I farm with my dad and two brothers there on a row crop operation. I have a wife, Christy. We've been married for 17 years in 2 weeks. We have two children. Hadley is 12. Jaxie's 9. That's the only kids we have right now. I guess the Lord didn't see fit to give us any more. We are devout conservatives, devout in our physically and whenever it comes to moral issues as well. I'm excited to be on this committee. I've got to watch this committee for the last 3 years and see some of the fun things that y'all get to endure. But the last couple of weeks, I've had a blast. And thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity to get to serve on this committee in the capacity. And thank you for your leadership. Thank you for the opportunity to tell a little bit about me.
Thank you. And, of course, it's great to have you here. And Representative Capley, will you tell a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kip Capley. I represent the 71st District in the House. That'll be the western half of Murray County, northwest half of Lawrence County, all of Wayne County, and a portion of Hardin County. I live in a small, unincorporated town called Summertown. It's where I grew up. It's where I call home. It's one of the best places, I think, in the state to live. I live a pretty quiet life. I'm a consultant by profession, but I have my MBA in healthcare admin from Trevecca. I'm a football coach. I enjoy coaching our youth and teaching them lifelong lessons at a young age. So that's been a blessing that I've been able to take part in their lives. I'm also honored to be on this committee. I will say, I don't want to offend any other chairman, but this is probably my favorite committee, if not one of my favorite committees. It's probably in the top 2 next to Chairman Farmer's Committee as well. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Capley. And just to confirm, you are the youngest member of the House?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir. I am the youngest member of the General Assembly.
Okay, just making sure. All right. He always likes to remind us of that. So before we begin, we have some housekeeping to do and the bills on the calendar. Item number 1, House Bill 1374 is rolled 2 weeks without objection. Item number 5, House Bill 795, rolled 1 week. Item number 8, House Bill 968, rolled 2 weeks. Was that loud enough? All right. That brings us to item number 2, House Bill 43 by Representative Barrett. We got a motion and a second, and Representative Barrett, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that motion and second. House Bill 43 seeks to authorize the addition of a circuit judge for the 23rd Judicial District, which is my district that I have practiced law in for 23 years. And I can tell you from personal experience that we have been in need of an additional judge for at least a decade, if not more. And if you look at the weighted case studies, the last one I believe was from 2019 from the Comptroller's Office, going all the way back into the early 2000s, this district has run anywhere from 0.9 to 1.9 judges behind what we should have. With the population growth that we have experienced in the district, 4 of the 5 counties that are served by this judicial district has seen double-digit increases in population. Also, in the last 3 years, 2 of the counties have rolled their probate court into their circuit court and chancery court. So we have 3 judges in this district currently that cover 10 courts in 5 counties. And this is desperately needed in my judicial district, and I would appreciate the committee's support. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Representative Barrett. Any questions for Representative Barrett? Question's been called. We're voting on House Bill 43 to send to civil floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes prevail. Civil floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next up, House Bill 190 by Representative Ritchie. We got a motion and a second. Representative Ritchie, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Today I bring House Bill 190, which intends to clarify and prevent some unintended consequences for law-abiding citizens and for businesses that are across this great state of ours. So in TCA Code 3917-1359 that we're looking at, what ends up happening is right now a business can require or put a sign up prohibiting firearms from being able to come inside of there, and I'm 100% in agreement with personal businesses being able to say, hey, no firearms allowed in here. The issue with the current language is it does not have any placement location or requirements for that signage. So we've got some actors across the state right now that are putting these signs down on the floor to where it's extremely hard to see on glass, where the opacity, you cannot really see it. They're putting it over in the bottom corner. And for somebody who walks inside, they're committing a Class B misdemeanor, which is punishable with a $500 fine. And I just want some clarity that way. Law-abiding citizens that are going to these establishments, these businesses, if a business owner does not want anybody to carry firearms inside of there, we just have to have a defined location to where it's easily seen, and folks can then make that decision whether they want to go inside or not. So the language in here would end up requiring that those businesses post within 3 foot of the entrance, between 60 and 72 inches off the ground, having a red background and white lettering on there. And I stand to answer any questions, Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Ritchie. Any questions for the sponsor? Representative Beck.
Thank you. And to the sponsor, does this change the size of the sign at all?
Yeah, so
Representative Ritchie.
thank you, Chairman. So currently in the code it says 4x4. I've got on there that it would be a 22 by 22 inch sign to where it's going to be noticeable with a red background and white lettering on there. It does not change the font size, which is in code, which is 1 inches tall.
Representative Beck.
So you're actually making it larger?
Representative Ritchie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Correct.
Representative
Okay.
Beck.
Thank you.
And Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned that a lot of these are going to be private-owned businesses. Obviously, we've got government buildings as well, but I will mention that just for the record that even private businesses, which I own one, when you open yourselves to the public, when that business is, that business puts a shingle out that says we want the public to come in, you are now considered legally a public conveyance. And so that's why we can't discriminate on who walks through that door. And we need to make sure if we're marking that to put people in a position where they could potentially have a misdemeanor charge, that they need to know it first and foremost very plainly. So I appreciate you bringing this. Thank you.
Representative Ritchie.
No, exactly. Thank you, Chairman Todd, as well. That's what this bill is for, the unintended consequences. There's other legislation that we need to end up looking at and addressing that comes along that path. But this right here makes it aware it's easily accessible, or you can end up seeing that the business does not want that firearm.
Any other questions for the sponsor? I've got a question. Is this your first bill?
This is my first bill in civil justice sub.
So there was a comedian a long while back that had this comic thing about "Where's your sign?" Is that where you got this idea from?
No, Chairman, that's not where I end up getting this from.
Okay, just making sure. All right, we're voting on House Bill. Leader Lambert.
I mean, Chairman, I don't think we're going to let this flow quite that easily. I mean, if it's truly his first bill, I think if this bill were to pass this committee and before it goes on to Chairman Farmer's committee, if it were to want to go beyond that, it might be necessary for him to go home and draw up one of these signs in the, to my friend from Davidson County's question, in the size and colors that it's supposed to be. A little bit of a homework project there, some, arts and crafts type stuff. I don't know if he'd be willing to do that, but to come past this committee, I'd like to know in the full committee that I can see an example of this.
Representative Ritchie, would you like to bring a display to the next committee?
Thank you, Chairman. What I am able to do extremely easily to take care of the leader's request over here is I can get a graphic a digital rendering of, say, Chairman Todd's building and show what it would end up looking like on the outside of his building. I could provide that.
The leader Lambert.
Mr. Chairman, as long as he personally designs this and puts his own time into it, that would be fine. But I don't expect anybody like his legislative assistant or anybody who works for the state of Tennessee. He can get volunteers, but I would expect him to put really his time. I can tell he cares about this bill. So as long as he puts his own time into it, that'd be all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think so. And, they got coloring crayons and stuff like that you can use. So,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Todd, go ahead.
He would not be able to bring a prop to the committee, as Leader Lambert so learned and was reminded last night on the House floor, but delivered to our offices would be great.
Oh, yeah, that would be good if you could do maybe a prop at the office. Yeah.
Absolutely, Chairman. I could actually have that emailed out so that everybody can look at that before it comes to full.
Yeah, just make sure it's organic, homemade, Yeah. All right, we're voting on House Bill 190 to send to civil for. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes prevail.
Thank you, Chairman of the committee.
All right, next up, item number 4, House Bill 187 by Representative Bolzo. We've got a motion and a second. Representative Bolzo, you are recognized. And I show amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Would you like to run the amendment?
Yes.
What code do you show?
Mr. Chairman, I show 004348.
That's what I show. And does it make the bill?
It does.
Okay, we'll go ahead and vote on Amendment 004348 to add to House Bill 187. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Amendment added. Representative Bolzo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill to fill a gap in part of our Civil Procedure Code 20-1-119A, and it actually concerns this thing called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. And perhaps the best way to explain what the bill does is just to illustrate how it would apply in a typical case. If, Mr. Chairman, one of the members of this committee were injured in an automobile accident, a serious accident, and it became necessary to bring a legal action against the party responsible for the collision, what likely would happen is that the litigant, the plaintiff, would bring a case against both the responsible party, and if that party had inadequate insurance, the party would also serve that lawsuit on the party's own uninsured motorist carrier, because it often happens in cases where there are serious injuries in a collision that the defendant will not have adequate insurance, may have no insurance at all. And so typically what occurs is that the party who brings the case names the responsible party as a defendant, but also serves that complaint on the party's own insurance carrier, because that party, if prudent, will have this thing called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. So the case is filed, and if the defendant names as an additional responsible party someone who's not already been joined to the case, then the plaintiff would have an extra 90 days to bring that newly named party into the case, even if it were outside the one-year statute of limitations, which frequently does occur because here, as you know, we've got a very short statute of limitations in Tennessee for personal injury actions. So if the plaintiff sues the defendant and the defendant says someone else was responsible under our current statute, the plaintiff has 90 days to bring that party in to satisfy the statute of limitations. But under Title 56, when a plaintiff serves the complaint on his own insurance carrier, that insurance carrier also may name as a responsible party someone who was not already in the case. And that is where this bill comes in, because right now the statute 20-1-119A does not clearly provide that a plaintiff has this additional 90 days to bring in a responsible party who's named by the uninsured or underinsured motorist carrier. And if adopted, what House Bill 187 would do would be to clarify that the plaintiff has an extra 90 days to bring in this responsible party named by the insurance carrier, even if that's outside of the 1-year statute of limitations. So effectively what the bill does is it fills that gap. And the whole right now is that the statute clearly provides that the plaintiff has 90 days to bring in someone who's named as a responsible party by a defendant, but the statute does not clearly provide that the plaintiff has that same right with regard to a responsible party identified by an uninsured or underinsured motorist carrier in that party's answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for the sponsor? Representative Parkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, I feel like I'm an attorney now. Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it.
So I got a question. Would it be 1 year and 90 days, or is it just 90 days in general?
Mr. Chairman, it could be either of those two or something else, because if, for example, a party filed the case on the 364th day right before the statute ran, and a party or an insurance carrier didn't file an answer for 6 months, the plaintiff could still, within 90 days of that 6 months filing of an answer, identifying a responsible party, use 20-1-19 to bring in that responsible party.
So currently, if a person is underinsured, how do they file against their own insurance at this time without this bill passing?
At this time, the danger is that when the plaintiff insured files the case and serves it on that party's uninsured motorist carrier, that sometime after the 1 year statute of limitations has expired, that insurance carrier will file an answer that identifies as a potentially responsible party someone who's not already in the case. And when that happens, that's when the plaintiff then has that 90-day window to bring in the potentially responsible party.
And that could happen after the 1 year?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions for the sponsor? Chairman Farmer.
And thank you, Representative Bozo. I support the bill. Just curious, is there, talked about clarification, fill in the gap, void, whatnot. Have we had some inconsistent court opinions across the state on this issue, or how? I know obviously it looks like we need to codify it, and looks like we're going to do it. But has there been some inconsistent opinions from different judges and courts that this may help with?
Representative Bozo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not aware, Chairman Farmer, of any inconsistencies in the opinions. I am aware of cases where the issue arose where where a plaintiff served a complaint on an insurance carrier who then identified a potentially responsible party who could not be added because the statute did not expressly provide for that.
Fair
and
enough.
that's the need for the legislation.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Any other questions, members? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 187 to send to civil full. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes prevail. Civil full. Next up, item number 6, House Bill 159 by Representative Capley. We got a motion. Do we have a second? And we got a second. Representative Capley, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an administration bill that was brought to me. This exempts the possession or carrying of a pocket knife by a non-student adult from the offense of possessing or carrying a weapon on school property if the knife remains concealed at all times while the adult is on school property for the sole purpose of voting in an election for which the school is the adult's designated polling place.
Very good. Any questions for Representative Capley? Any questions? Seeing none, we'll be voting on House Bill 159 to send to civil full. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Ayes prevail. Civil full. Item number 7, House Bill 985 by Representative Beck. Do I have a motion? We got a motion. Do we have a second? We got a second. Representative Beck, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a bill brought to me by the AOC. Under present law, unless otherwise required by statute, a court rule or court order in electronic or paper filing under the court that could contain an individual Social Security number, taxpayer ID number, or date of birth, the name of an individual to be known to be a minor, or financial account information, a party on a non-party making the filing must only include the following: last four of social, the year of the individual's birth, and the minor's initials, and the last four digits of a financial account. Present law exempts the application of the requirement above in the filing in juvenile court. This bill adds the additional exemption when required for a parenting plan in family court relative to the laws to the child's custody and visitation. With that explanation, Mr. Chair, I stand ready to take questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the sponsor? We got the questions called. We're voting on Representative Kepley.
Mr. Chairman, this bill's already been rolled 1 week. I would object to that.
Representative Farmer.
Is there any, and we went through and we talked about this bill, it was rolled last week. No one brought any attention to this, I don't know anything about any substantive issues of this bill. I don't think Chairman Russell knows of any substantive issues of this bill. Need a good reason. So I'm going to object.
Yeah, the question was called and it wasn't withdrawn. So without objection, we're still calling the question. All those in favor of sending House Bill 985 to full civil signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes prevail. Congratulations, full civil.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further business without objection, we stand adjourned.